It's time for some DC Marvel crossover short stories. Constantine and Doctor Strange, Nightwing and Wolverine, Harley and Hulk, and Static and Miss Marvel. Let's do this. A Magician Walks into a Universe by Scott Snyder, James Tynion, and Joshua Williamson. New York City. John Constantine walks along Bleecker Street in Greenwich Village. He finally stops and lights a smoke before looking up at the Sanctum Sanctorum. John shakes his head and walks up the steps. He doesn't want to be here, but something has happened. The magic of two worlds is mixing. Two worlds of magic that are contradictory in every way. And this is causing creatures that hide in the shadows to try and coexist. Something that doesn't work. John doesn't bother knocking. He just puffs his cigarette and waits. Finally, the door opens to reveal a costumed wizard. What kind of last name is Strange? That'd be like me calling myself John Soulless, John thinks to himself. Dr. Strange cocks an eyebrow at him. I knew an emissary of nefarious cosmic tidings would make a house call. I did not expect a trench coat, Stephen notes before ushering John inside. Sorry to disappoint. Left my tights at the dry cleaner. Nice place. Really leaning into the gimmick, ain't ya? John notes as he looks at the strange artifacts displayed around the room. Stephen follows him, making sure that he doesn't touch anything. I hear you're the Sorcerer Supreme, John notes. Stephen nods. So you are who I expected, Stephen states. John sighs and finally nods. Bloody hell. You bet. That's me, John Constantine, Sorcerer Supreme, he says before turning away and continuing to walk along the halls of the sanctum. So, listen up, my fellow Wizard of Wonder. I've come to fix things, and it's come to my attention you have the tools to do the fixing, John calls over his shoulder. The two stop before a roaring fireplace. This goes deeper than magic, John. The forces at work here are not only magic. The best word to describe it is horror, Stephen explains. John nods as he stares into the fire. From the moment I stepped into your sanctum, I could feel how different it is here. Magic moves differently, but it's so much more than that. The scares are different too. The horror from my world is meeting the horror from yours. And they go together like me and a bloody unicorn, John explains. Elsewhere, Ghost Rider roars through the night down the dirt roads of an old swamp. He whips his chain around his head and lashes out, wrapping the hellfire-sparked metal around Swamp Thing and dragging him to the ground. Swamp Thing grunts as the rider pulls him along, but vines grow out of the ground and wrap around the motorcycle's tires, pulling it down. Ghost Rider staggers to his feet, and Swamp Thing reaches for his throat. Back in the sanctum, the pair turn away from the fire and stare out the window at the city before them. I can admit when I'm a bit over my head, and I need your help, John says. Stephen cocks an eyebrow at him and looks at him. You're lying, of course. For the last several minutes, you have tried to distract me while you attempted numerous sleeping spells on me. You didn't come here to form an alliance. This is a betrayal, Strange says. He steps back and holds out his hand, tying John up with glowing bands. You seek to steal from me, Strange says. John struggles against the bonds, but it is no use. Strange steps forward. Once, I was a selfish man, and I understand selfish men, Strange says. John nods gently, before headbutting Strange hard in the nose. The glowing bands fall away, and John steps back, holding the Eye of Agamotto in his swift hands. Sure, but do you understand that you're a real He reaches down and unlocks the eye, staring into it. John's third eye opens, and he sees it all. He sees Ghost Rider fighting against Swamp Thing, he sees the realms of hell where Mephisto and Neron battle. Their blows threaten to tear apart realities. The magic is too much, and John falls to his knees. 2 planes of magic flow through me. I need to stitch the wounds before they die, he gasps. But Strange is there, his astral form aiding John. You alone cannot take the burden for all of us. The only way we continue is if we work together, Strange whispers. The two work together, and the realms of magic are separated. Finally, it is over. John's third eye closes, and Stephen returns to his body. John looks around the sanctum and staggers to his feet. This is going to be one hell of a hangover, Doc, he gasps. Strange nods. He saw into John's mind, saw the horrific things he had done, but knows that he does these things because he cares about the world. John shrugs. It all worked out, didn't it, mate? A bit of skullduggery to save magic across all existence, John says. Finally, he turns away. Suppose I'll go back to my own world now, he says as he heads towards the door. Strange watches the magician. That would be for the best. I worry what you would get up to if you stayed, Strange calls. But John stops at the door. He turns back and puts a cigarette in his mouth. Unless he wanted to join me. Come and see what the horror looks like in my neck of the woods, he asks with a wink. Strange ponders the idea for a moment. Perhaps, he says with a smile. Sticks and Schnicks by Tom Taylor. The sewers of Gotham City. Wolverine stops and sniffs the air before glancing down at the man who studies the floor nearby. Her scent gets overwhelmed here, she growls. Nightwing nods and looks up at her. It's the Gotham sewer system. All the scents get overwhelmed here, he says. The two move deeper into the sewers, stopping as they come to a junction with 5 pipes. The 3 drains to the right are almost impassable. The far left gets some traffic. Second from the left is our best option, he tells her. Laura pauses and looks at him. You know a lot about sewers? She asks. Nightwing shrugs. I had to commit them to memory. I spent a lot of my younger years down here, he says. She sniffs the air again. You must have spent a lot of your younger years washing the stench out of your clothes, she notes as they continue to move forward. But Dick shakes his head and explains that they had a butler that helped them with that. You grew up rich? She asks. Kind of, but I was raised in a circus before I was raised in a mansion, he tells her as they press forward. I've spent some time in a mansion, but I was raised in a laboratory. As a child, I was forced to be an assassin, she tells him. Oh, hey, small world. My brother was forced to be a child assassin. They continue on. Dick stops for a moment, placing his hands against the deep claw marks on the stone wall. This way, he says as he motions deeper into the sewers. He is quiet, not wanting to worry Laura about her sister's disappearance. Don't worry, my sister and I, we heal, Laura tells him. What do you do? She asks. Nightwing glances at her and smiles. I do what I can, he tells her. Laura stops for a moment and stares at him in shock. Wait, are you just a regular guy? She asks. But the conversation is cut short as Laura sniffs the air. She can smell death. With a schnick of her claws, they begin to move forward into the vast chamber and find Gabby stuck in a cage. Laura moves fast and slashes the floor, with Nightwing leaping and catching Gabby as she drops through the air. The young girl is clutching her Wolverine. Don't try to move. You have a bone sticking out of your hand, Nightwing tells the girl. But Gabby just shakes her head and smiles. I'm fine. I'm supposed to have a bone sticking out of my hand, she says. Gabby turns to her sister. Laura, it's still here, Gabby shouts. The nearby water suddenly churn and Killer Croc leaps out at them, roaring in anger. Laura watches in shock as Nightwing, who she recently learned is a regular guy, places himself between the monster and the two women. But Laura leaps over his head, slashing at the monster. Dick watches in fascination as Wolverine moves fast but accurate. Every attack she lands is designed to wound, not to kill. The two begin to work together, and the fight is over in moments. Finally, Croc falls to the floor and begs for mercy. "Why did you take her?" Laura demands. "He didn't take me. He took Jonathan. I wasn't gonna stand for that," Gabby says as she holds up her Wolverine. Nightwing takes a step forward. "Is that an actual Wolverine? I thought you had a dog," he tells her. Gabby shakes her head. "What? No. Dogs are boring. That's a pretty mundane pet for a superhero," Gabby scoffs. Dick scratches his head. "I have a dog. She once got superpowers and talked," he explains. She thinks about it for a moment. "That's better," she finally admits. Dick looks at her and questions why she would follow Croc into the sewers and risk getting eaten for a Wolverine. "I've been eaten by monsters before," Gabby says with a shrug. Laura nods. "Yeah, same. It's inconvenient, but it's not the end of the world," she admits. Later, after dealing with Croc, the trio return to the clock tower. Dick plays with the Wolverine, while Gabby pets Haley. Nearby, Barbara and Laura talk while enjoying Chinese food. As time passes, Dick and Laura head up to the roof and look out over the city. They talk and realize that they have so much in common. Both have grown up in the shadows of the world's greatest heroes, living up to the best there is at what they do. Harley and Hulk's Amazing Saturday by Mariko Tamaki. Coney Island. Harley Quinn smiles at the hot dog vendor as he cocks an eyebrow at her and adds another scoop of chili to her hot dog. "Lots of chili," she orders. Harley holds up the hot dog and prepares to take a bite, but something flies past her and the hot dog and chili spill to the ground. She stares in amazement at a metal rat on a hoverbike flying past. The hoverbike slams into the hot dog vendor and begins to drag the cart and all the hot dogs away. Suddenly, there is a shout of anger and the Hulk races past, chasing after the robot rat. "Oh hey, Hulky, it's me, Harley," Harley shouts as she chases after the Hulk. "What a Hulk," she says with hearts in her eyes. But the Hulk isn't listening as he continues to chase after the Ratbot. Harley chases after them both, and the Ratbot leads them inside a toxic waste management plant. The Ratbot looks back at the Hulk in fear and doesn't watch where it's going, riding right off the edge of the catwalk and landing in a vat of chemical waste. Both Hulk and Harley come to a screeching stop, teetering on the edge of the catwalk. "Not today, toxic vat, not today." Harley cheers as they both regain their balance. The two stare down into the bubbling liquid, where the Ratbot and hot dog cart float. "Hey Hulky, what do you get when you cross hot dogs and unidentified toxic waste?" Harley asks as the vat continues to bubble more and more. Suddenly, radioactive hot dogs are flying through the air as the toxic waste begins to heat them up. But Harley spies the vat controls above them. "Hey Big Green, can I get a ride?" Harley asks. Hulk grunts and picks her up. "She is beauty, she is grace," Harley begins to say as Hulk tosses her through the air, allowing her to kick the controls and shut off the vat with a massive explosion. Finally, the smoke clears and Hulk steps out of the plant, Harley riding on his shoulders. "That was so cool! Let's do it again!" she cheers. But the Hulk doesn't look amused. New Friends in Old Places by G. Willow Wilson. Kamala pushes her plate away from the table and smiles at her mother and father. "I'm stuffed, Umi. I need like a half-hour timeout before I can even think about dessert," Kamala says as her mother brings out a plate. Her mother starts to argue, but the conversation is cut short by the roar of a monster outside and the shaking of the house. Nearby, Virgil Hawkins' father is asking him about how he got a B in biology. The conversation is cut short by a warning alert on his phone. Virgil jumps up and rushes for the door, ignoring his mother and father calling for him. In the city, Miss Marvel rushes down the street towards the giant monster that is running amok. "Nobody panic! I've got things under control!" Kamala shouts as civilians rush past her. One woman stops. "Wait, what about that other guy who already has things under control?" she asks. Kamala stares at her in shock. "What other guy?" she asks. Kamala looks up as Static flies past on a levitating piece of metal. "No worries, miss. I got this. That oversized sewer puppy is about to be toast." Static calls to her as he flies towards the monster. But Miss Marvel embiggens her hands and punches at it, knocking it back. "Looks like you could use some backup. I'm Miss Marvel, by the way. I didn't catch your name," she says. Static lands by her. "I'm called Static, and thanks for lending a hand. I'll be sure to add you to the group chat." He scoffs at her. Kamala glares at him. "No, I'll add you to the group chat," she snaps. But the monster roars, reminding them why they're both here. "I'll go high, you go low," Static suggests. Kamala nods in agreement. "Sounds good to me," she says. And both the heroes launch into the fight, finally working together. And those were the backup stories from the DC Marvel Batman Deadpool comic a while back. I'm glad I could finally get them on the channel, and I'd love to hear which comic was your favorite. Mine was the Nightwing Wolverine one, since I relate to the characters trying to live up to someone that was the best at what they do. But also, be sure to like and subscribe to help out the channel. I'm Dan with Comicstorian, and we will see you next time. Rest in peace, Benny.